Welcome back to the Puncher's Point. We have been waiting and waiting for an update on this fight, and we announced it way, way back before we even made the YouTube. However, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit skeptical, a little bit, just a tiny bit, on whether or not this fight was happening. Nonetheless, according to Mike Coppinger of ESPN, Errol Spence Jr. and Sebastian Fundora is being planned to take place in January of 2025. And there's been rumors circling around. Some people are saying it's going to be in Vegas, but most sources have said that they are planning to have this fight in Errol Spence's hometown in Texas. So 2025, Errol Spence versus Sebastian Fundora for the WBC championship in the WBO championship as of now. Now, this is a very, very complicated situation, so we need y'all to bear with me. Obviously, the whole problem when making this fight was Terence Crawford. A lot of people felt like Terence Crawford, should have just cut in line and get that fight versus Sebastian Fundora. However, Terence Crawford and Sebastian Fundora have came to the resolution that Terence Crawford is going to step aside to allow Sebastian Fundora to voluntarily defend his WBO belt and WBC belt against Errol Spence Jr., making the way for a bigger fight if Sebastian Fundora were to beat Errol Spence Jr. So there's a big reward if Sebastian Fundora wins. Now, I do want to clarify that there is an issue. I've also heard rumors. Again, I want to say these are rumors, so we don't need y'all going back to the puncher's point saying, how could y'all spread false information? Rumors. There are rumors circulating that the WBO is refusing to allow Sebastian Fundora to defend his belt, and if he accepts this fight with Errol Spence Jr., they will strip him. Now, this whole situation has been a mess from the very beginning. Breezy knows it. I know it. This has been a whole mess. Okay, something that was so simple that was supposed to be Errol Spence coming back, going to 154 like he said he was going to do and challenging Sebastian Fundora. It's became so complicated. And I understand Terence Crawford's part. Terence Crawford won the WBA championship against Israel Madrimov. So he feels like because he's a champion, because he already beat Errol Spence Jr., he should have next in line. But the problem I have is this. We have made such a big, big problem on this situation. If I'm not mistaken, Terence Crawford, I have not heard you say a dang thing about Sebastian Fundora. Recently, like just like as of a few days ago, I've heard you talk about like possibly fighting him and everything like that. But before that, all I've been hearing out of Terence Crawford's mouth for the last couple months is Canelo this, Canelo that. And I understand you want the big fight with Canelo. But now all of a sudden, because Errol Spence is back into the picture, we got to make this more difficult than what it needs to be. No, I respect Terence Crawford for stepping aside to allow this title fight to happen because it can create a bigger fight for him versus Sebastian Fundora. But at the same time, if Errol Spence wins this fight, we get Spence versus Crawford too. And I know a lot of people, I already hear what they're saying. Terence Crawford's going to do him worse. We don't want to see that fight again. Terence Crawford's going to lay him out. Terence Crawford's going to kick his ass. Big fish down. All this type of stuff. All right. We all know, okay? But I do want to say something, okay? Sometimes the rematch doesn't always end the same way that the first fight did. I want y'all to understand that. Now here's the issue. We have not seen what Errol Spence looks like after that fight. For all we know, that fight could have broke him. And he goes into this fight with Sebastian Fundora, and he's not the same Errol Spence. That has happened before to a lot of fighters. However, who's to say that after that fight, it didn't motivate him to become a better fighter? Again, you can't just count a guy out because he has one loss. We've explained this a million times on this podcast. One loss does not make you a loser or a bust, or it doesn't make you a has-been. It's one loss. But we don't know what this is going to be like. Obviously, we're still curious on Errol Spence's health. I'm assuming that he's cleared to compete if he's allowed to accept his fight with Sebastian Fundora. But overall, this has been a very, very interesting and intriguing situation for the last 4 months. I want to say 4 or 5 months. So I would love, actually, it's been a little bit longer than that, Breezy. It's been a little bit longer than 5 months. But I would love to get your opinion on Sebastian Fundora versus Errol Spence Jr. and the whole situation in itself, from Terence Crawford stepping aside or the whole drama between that to the WBO possibly stripping Sebastian Fundora if he accepts this fight. Just overall, how do you feel about it?
As far as Sebastian Fundora and Errol Spence, here's the thing, y'all. And y'all know me and Mario, we both like Spence. We both Errol Spence Jr. supporters. Not to say that we don't like Terence Crawford, but we kind of been more like gravitated towards Errol. Here's the thing, right? Ever since he first lost that Crawford fight, the question that kept arising was, what was next? Do we go to retirement? Does he move up? Does he take the rematch clause automatically and run it back automatically with Crawford? Obviously, the rematch clause had expired, so that was a done deal. So obviously, Earl took his little break and whatnot. And here's the thing, y'all. Like Mario said, I don't understand for the life of me why y'all do that as boxing fans. This is why I say UFC fans are much, much different from boxing fans. Those guys can take 5 losses and can still be considered a great, a legend. Meanwhile, over here, y'all ain't like a bunch of princes talking about some, oh, he took 1 loss, so now he's a bum. He took 1 loss, now he's a bum. I want you to go up into the old fighters like Mike Tyson and tell them to their face that they took 1 loss, now they're a bum. I want you to go do that and see how that goes for you. But nevertheless, here's the thing, right? I'm not mad at the fight. My whole concern has always been Errol's health. The man took a bad beat in his last fight, having back-to-back accidents. Then he had the whole eye incident. I'm really just concerned about his health. Not only that too, but a team. In order to have this camp, in order to have this fight, there must be a team. Unless Errol Spence is doing things behind the scenes, which knowing Earl for as long as I've known him for, he's the type of person where he does things behind the scene. I'm sure he has gathered up some people and he's got a camp, he's got a team going, because it wouldn't make sense for him to get into this fight or even sign his name on a contract to be in a potential fight without having a team. So I'm sure there's a team. As far as the whole biz with Crawford stepping to the side, look, I respect it. You know what I'm saying? Look, I guess Crawford's gonna take a nice little little break, spend time with the family and whatnot. You know, he had that fight with Israel Madrimov, and I guess he can sit back and see how this goes. Now, as far as WBC trying to strip Fundora for trying to fight Errol, look, I always say this: it's too many belts. All right, it's too many promoters. They need to just stick to one belt per division. That's what I firmly believe in. I guarantee you, if you just have one promoter and one belt per division, you won't be having all these fluster clucks in the division. You won't be having all these email champions, all these sandwich champions, all these French fries, McDonald's, Starbucks champions, and whatnot. Just have one belt per division. But as far as stripping him, though, I don't know. I feel like it's too kind of like a little bit level based and whatnot. Because at the same time, though, the winner of that fight can go on and fight Crawford. So I don't, like I said, I never cared about the whole sanctioning bodies and how they operate with who they have as mandatories and who they pick and choose to strip. Because at the end of the day, it's all optional. It's not nothing that ever makes sense. Nothing that they ever do makes sense. I mean, look at the last mandatory they was trying to have Canelo fight. Nothing they do makes sense whatsoever. So to me, I really don't care. But I do say this: I hope the fight does happen, and let's say that the fight does happen and is completely confirmed and official. I can't wait to see what Errol Spence Jr. looks like.
Well, I'll say this: the fight's confirmed and it is official. We just don't know. Like I've heard so many rumors. Some people are saying it's gonna be the main event to Benavidez versus David Morrell, but PBC hasn't really posted anything about that. ESPN hasn't posted nothing about that. Other people are saying it's gonna take place in Errol Spence's hometown. So correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't think I am because we just reported about it. Benavidez and David Morrell is going to be happening in Las Vegas. All right. So unless all of a sudden they made a 360 and said, hey, guess what? This fight's happening in Texas now. I don't see it. I don't know, man. I don't see it being on the same card. What I will say is this. You look at the junior middleweight division. Here's what I like about it. It is so stacked that there's no time for BS mandatories. You know, Canelo Alvarez can't go. It's not like Canelo Alvarez where he has to go fight somebody like William Skull. It's not like that. Here's the thing, okay? As of right now, there are 3 champions in the 154-pound division: Sebastian Fundora, Terence Crawford, and Bakram Matarzaliev. And Matarzaliev is going to be fighting Tim Tszyu, which y'all better stay in tuned because we're going to give a prediction episode for that real quick. So make sure y'all just stay in tune for that. It's coming up pretty soon. But then you go and you look at the interim champions. You got Terence Crawford, who's the WBO interim champion. So let's suppose hypothetically Sebastian Fundora does decide to take this fight. It doesn't change anything, in my opinion. Here's what would happen. Terence Crawford, either way, is going to have to fight the winner of that fight. Let me explain why. Sebastian Fundora takes the fight with Errol Spence, drops the WBO title. Who does that WBO title go to? Terence Crawford. So either way, three belts are going to be on the line. If I'm Sebastian Fundora, I'm telling WBO to screw off. I'm taking this fight. Terence Crawford can get his WBO championship, and we can get this on after that fight. If I'm Sebastian Fundora and I'm so confident I'm gonna beat Errol Spence, then that's what I'm gonna do. I'm taking the Spence fight. I'm beating Spence, putting that name on my resume just like I did with Tim Tszyu. And then after that, me and Terence Crawford, we can get it on. That's what I would do if I was Sebastian Fundora. But then there's one other name that everybody just keeps on forgetting. And he's going through a lot of crap right now. He's obviously, not in the right headspace. Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo is the WBA junior middleweight champion in recess, and he's also the WBC junior middleweight champion in recess. And then you got Virgil Ortiz, who is the WBC interim junior middleweight champion. So, hey, Breezy, how's this sound? Jermell Charlo versus Virgil Ortiz to finally determine who's going to get that shot at that WBC junior middleweight championship. I'm a fan of it, honestly.
I have no problems with it.
That's what
But
I mean. Sorry,
can y'all
continue.
make sure Jermell Charlo is good? Because a part of me feel like Jermell Charlo is still in that ring speaking on the mic and nobody is there listening. Where is Jermell at? Where has Jermell been at? Here's the thing, y'all. It's going to be very hard for Jermell Charlo to just jump back in the. This division has been popping more than grease on the skillet. Okay. So for him to just kind of like booyah 619 his way back into the division is gonna be pretty hard. No Diddy. Here's the thing. As far as that fight happening, it sounds good to me, but it's like I, a part of me also thinks too, Jermell Charlo does not have that much interest in 154 because if you ask me if he did, he would have been in there. He would have been had a fight by now. Because think about it, all these dudes have your belts. Remember, let's not forget, this was once Jermell Charlo's division. Can't nobody. It was a time and point where nobody at 154 could touch Jermell. Now, all these the belt is here, the belt is there, the belt is everywhere. So I don't think he really cares about 154. I'm really starting to think if he cares about boxing, but more so about 154. I believe if it was that serious to him, he would have been had a fight by now. But as far as him and Virgil Ortiz, it sounds nice, but I'm not sure how. I'm not sure Jamel is still into it. I don't know if he's mentally still in the boxing.
But I mean, those are the two guys that I would like to see fight because they both. I mean, one's an interim champion at for the WBC belt, and the other one's the WBC champ at recess. And then all of a sudden, you got Sebastian Fundora, who has the WBC belt. And either way you slice it, that WBC belt is going to be defended between Errol Spence Jr. and Sebastian Fundora. So I would say just have Virgil Ortiz and Jermell Charlo get it on. Winner gets probably the winner of whoever Terence Crawford versus whoever wins Fundora versus Spence. There's so many fights you can make, dude, in that. That's the most stacked division in boxing. Nobody can tell me otherwise. Because the thing is, unlike 135 and 140, it's not guys jumping up and down, or we can say, hey, this fight could potentially happen. Tank Davis could potentially go up to 140 and fight Tio. Tio can drop down to 135 and fight trying to think. Help me out. I'm trying to think of Shakur Stevenson or something like that. Like it's not like these guys are jumping like up and down. You're at the 154-pound division are true 154 pounders. They're not going up and they're not going down. Once you hit 154, you're done. Terence Crawford is not going back to 147 pounds. I'm sorry, but that can be fought out between Jerron Boots Ennis, Brian Norman, um, uh, Staniones, that Mario Barrios, those could be fought out between those four. But I mean, when you think about the names, we talked about it a million times. Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, Sebastian Fundora, Murtaza Aliyev, Tim Tszyu. We hear y'all in the comments talk about how we mispronounce his name. Tim Tszyu. Virgil Ortiz Jr. You think about Jermell Charlo. I mean, so many great fights you can make in that division. So many, many, many great fights. There's no time to have a BS mandatory. But as far as the actual fight in itself, if I'm Sebastian Fundora, drop that WBO belt, let Terence Crawford claim it. You fight Errol Spence, and then winner gets Terence Crawford. It's just that simple. Let's make it that simple and let's get it on. If you're Jermell Charlo, if you're Virgil Ortiz, one's interim, the other one's in recess, y'all fight it out and y'all determine who becomes the number one contender for that WBC belt. And that's it. That's all we got to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be this difficult. You know what I'm saying? But overall, I mean, I don't know where this is gonna. I know it's gonna be taking place in January. I don't know if it's gonna be on the Benavidez Morel card or if it's gonna be in Earl Spence's hometown in Texas. I'm not sure, but obviously, we're gonna find out. And overall, I mean, look, Premier Boxing is about to have a strong 2025. They're gonna kick it off right, and they're gonna be a threat to DAZN. They're gonna be a threat to Top Rank, even Riyadh season. Like, y'all are gonna look at Premier Boxing and y'all gonna be like, we gotta step it up between Benavidez Morel, between Spencer Fundora, between Tank and Roach, Vomit. Um, Overall, it's gonna be a good start for 2025 for PBC. So the other promotions better start following and competing. And I'm very excited for it. I think 2025 is gonna be a great year for boxing. I just have a good feeling. But other than that, man, do you have any other final thoughts you would like to give to Earl Spence, Sebastian Fundora, this whole situation in general?
Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated. I guess that's good. I mean, they're gonna have to stay hydrated during the fight. You feel me? I mean, overall, honestly, whatever fight they decide to make at 154, I'm absolutely excited about it. No matter whether it's its own card or whether it's going to be on the Benavidez Morel card, I'm excited for it. I just can't wait. I mean, I've been waiting for Errol Spence to come back as an Errol Spence fan. I know some people might not want to see it, but Spence and Fundora is a good fight because it's a fight that's a challenge, but it's also a fight that Errol Spence can win. And it's a good fight for Sebastian Fundora because I think Fundora needs that name like Errol Spence to be on his record, to be on his resume, to kind of solidify him a little bit, because the Tim Tszyu fight, it wasn't really what you call, it has a little bit of an asterisk on it because of the whole cut situation, and it was unfortunate for Tim Tszyu, but I don't think Sebastian Fundora got all the credit that he feels like he should have gotten. So a fight with Errol Spence is definitely gonna be, you know, it's definitely going to be a good fight to have on his resume. But then we're going to hear all the people saying Earl Spence is a has-been. He's washed. We're going to hear all the people saying Sebastian Fundora, that wasn't a good fight for him. They're never going to give him the credit until he fights Crawford. That's just the bottom line. But I do believe Errol Spence Jr. gives him more credit than that Tim Tszyu fight. But overall, we just got to have to wait and see. You know what I'm saying? 154-pound division is cooking, and it's only going to heat up from here. So with that being said, Breezy, I'm going to have you wrap it up.
What the deal is, Puncher's Point recording basically every day. Instead of saying the weekdays, I'm just going to tell y'all we basically report almost every day. That is whenever boxing has something to report on. Y'all know what the deal is. Stay tuned in with the Instagram, the X. Make sure y'all listen to the podcast. I don't know why y'all be treating the podcast app like it's like a stepless child or whatnot. Y'all can listen on there too. Stop being lazy. I'm tired of y'all being lazy. Take your funky behind over there. Put your earbuds in while you're in at work. Put the podcast app on. Put on the Puncher's Point. You can turn the screen off. You ain't got to keep your phone on, all right? Stop being lazy. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Go on the podcast app right now and follow Puncher's Point. I ain't going to say it again next time I say it. I'm going to come through the screen. I'm going to grab you by your shirt, and I'm going to pull you up against the wall, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make you follow Puncher's Point. So don't make me come through the screen and make you do it. So you might want to do it while you can, because I don't want to come through the screen and make you follow Puncher's Point. Yes, I said I will make you. Yes, I did. Other than that, though, y'all know what the deal is. Puncher's Point. Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.